Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all for getting up and listening to the show today. Here we are, the third weekend of April, and there's just so much happening now. You know, I think that we're finally through those cold temperatures, and the beginning of the week we still had some of those extremely cool nights, but I think we're through those now. The last couple days we've had some nice warm temperatures, only into the 40s at night, and so I think it's going to be just a wonderful, wonderful spring here on out, and we just want to thank God for this wonderful time that we have. Today, there's a lot going on at the Garden Center. This is, of course, the third Saturday of the month, so we have a farmer's market. It's going to be beginning at 9 o'clock this morning, and several vendors coming. We're going to have some great produce. We have kale and Swiss chard and mixed greens and the microgreens, and we've had some questions about microgreens this week and the trend that's out there and how popular it is. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about like that. And so there's a lot of those vendors that's going to be there at the farmer's market this morning. So we want all of you to come out. It runs until noon today. And I think then in the afternoon, you should be out working in your gardens. And so we're going to talk a lot about those kind of things that we need to be doing in the garden right now. Also, today is sort of the kickoff for us for Earth Week. So today at the Garden Center during the Farmers Market, we're going to be doing some little breakout sessions in, doing some little bits of teaching on organic gardening and how to start your seeds that you haven't started yet, which is another question that we had this week. So throughout the market today, we're going to be doing those types of things. So this is going to be a great market to come to for some knowledge as well as some great product from our wonderful, wonderful vendors. So then throughout the week of Earth Week, we will have classes going on. On Tuesday evening, we're going to be having a class on organic gardening, all the basics. It's going to begin at 6:30 p.m. Then again on Thursday night, we will have another one, and it's going to be why to vegetable garden yourself when you can buy produce easily. Why should I vegetable garden myself? And then we're going to talk some about eating organically and how the two coincide together. So it's going to be a very, very great class if you are wanting to clean up your diet and learn some easy ways to do that. And then on Friday, which is Earth Day, we are going to be doing a class during the day at 10 o'clock, and we're going to be calling it organic gardening as well, but we're going to be doing a planting session at that one. It's going to be sort of like if you're a college student, you have class and then you have the lab. Well, so we're going to do both. So we're going to have the class, and we'll have a lecture, and then we're going to have lab right afterwards. And we are opening this class up and really encouraging our homeschoolers to come to this class. This can be an extension of your classroom. I'm sure you'll be able to use it for science, probably math. So this is going to be a great class that we invite all of our homeschoolers to come to. And if you need more information, you can always give us a call at 330-455-5997. And that's not just about Earth Week classes, but anything that you would like to have your gardening questions answered, we'd love to answer that for you. Also, you can email me your questions at cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's CINDYPETITTI@gmail.com. You can fax questions to us still. We are sort of old-fashioned at our Garden Center, and our fax number is 330-455-5998. So we want all of you to get all of your questions answered, but we really would like you to come out to the store and visit us, and you can do that. Our address is 5828 Columbus Road. We're in Nimishillen Township. We are right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway. And we're right there on the corner. You can't miss us. Our sign's on the corner, and our sign's in the middle of the parking lot. So you're not going to be able to miss us if you're on Columbus Road, that's for sure. But we invite all of you to come out today to the farmers market. And then this whole week, if you are interested in learning more about gardening all the way around, but especially organic gardening and organic eating and healthy eating and learning how to get your family healthy and really learning about, we're going to sort of tie our whole Bible study into this week. And our Bible study that we had done during Lent, and several of you knew about it, was, is my body worthy of being a temple of the Holy Spirit? And it's something that I really feel is my calling, is to help people make their bodies worthy of being a temple of the Holy Spirit. And so many times we don't think about some of the things we put in our body that we're eating, making our bodies unworthy. But God gave us what we need to eat. He really did. And we need to go back to that, because so many of the processed foods that we put in our body are really just destroying it and just tearing it up. And we wonder why we have, an outbreak of autism and fibromyalgia and neurological diseases and autoimmune diseases. If we go back to eating what God gave us and what He has here for us to eat, and using His methods of healing ourselves, I think so many more of us would be healthier. And we love to share those things with you. We love to pray with you on how you can learn more and open your minds up and your hearts to have the faith to do it, because it is definitely a leap of faith to say, you know what, I'm not going to take some of the pharmaceutical drugs. You have to have that faith, and not that all pharmaceutical drugs are bad. I'm not saying that at all. But sometimes we can heal ourselves. You are what you eat. And so we really talk a lot about that. So Earth Week is going to be sort of a condensed session of what we did in our time of our Bible study during Lent. And I think we might continue that again in the fall when things slow up a little bit for us. So it's going to be great. So if you are interested in that, let us know about that too. We had a great group of people for that Bible study, and just some people that none of us knew each other. And it was great. We became such good friends and doing things together now because we really built a relationship during that Bible study and sharing so much with each other. So it's a wonderful time to have those small groups and those intimate times that you can really share with one another. And that was a great, great experience for all of us. So we're going to go ahead and get into the questions that you have all been asking us throughout the past week. The first one that we had was about flowers. And, even though I talk a lot about food, we still love flowers. The flowers are beautiful. And so the question was, what flowers is it safe to put outside right now? And your annuals, they're real tender, and they can't handle the frost that we're still going to get. I mean, even though I say, the weather's good and it looks like we're not going to have, temperatures into, below the 40s in the next nearable time here. But it's definitely going to happen. We're going to have another frost or 2 or 3, before the end of May. And so we need to be careful with those kind of things. And so it's going to happen. So what flowers are safe to put out right now are your pansies and your violas. Those two can handle the frost. And they are beautiful right now. They love these cool temperatures. They love 65, 70 degree days. They don't love the 85s and the 90s at all. That's why your pansies will usually start showing some stress when we're getting into mid-June and into the late June. So this is a time to get your pansies out. They can handle it without any problem. The violas the same way. Snapdragons are another one that can handle it pretty well. And those ones in several places, like we have pansies and violas blooming right now just beautifully at the greenhouse. And most of your local independent garden centers are going to have some really nice looking pansies that you can get that first blast of color into your landscape, or even if you're just doing a couple pots at your front door to get you that spring color. Now, a lot of you, your tulips and your hyacinths are blooming right now, and they have come up from you planting those bulbs last fall. and those are looking really good for you. This is also a great time now that your tulips and your hyacinths, your daffodils are all up and blooming. This is a good time to go ahead. You know where they are. So this is a time in the next few weeks that you're going to want to fertilize them good. And that's going to help make their bloom last a little bit longer for you, but also it will help feed the bulb once the flower is gone. And it will feed that bulb so that next year it's going to do well for you. Now, a lot of times we say that you should fertilize in the spring and in the fall, but so many times we forget where our spring blooming bulbs are. So make sure that you get them now, because a lot of times in the fall you don't know where they are exactly and you can't fertilize them good. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you get those in. The next question was about splitting our perennials, and what perennials should we be splitting right now, and when exactly is there a target date for all of them. But really, anytime the month of April is a great time to split your perennials. We like to say you only split your perennials or do transplanting in months with an R in them. Now, here we are in April with an R, but May doesn't have one. So this is your last month that you're going to want to do your perennial splitting until we're into the fall again. This is a great time to split your hostas and your perennials because they've just popped through the earth. And you can see how large they're going to be. You know how much you want to take out. And they're going to be able to get that root system started and start shooting off. It's a good idea when you split your perennials. And when I'm talking about perennials, I'm talking about anything that's herbaceous that doesn't have a woody stem. So this is including your ornamental grasses. This is going to be a great time to do that. Remember, burn your grasses off right now and then split them. It's going to make your life so much easier. So also, once you get them split, the piece that you are removing from that spot and moving it to another spot, you want to make sure that you put a good fertilizer that has some good microorganisms. One of the bio starters from a spoma is going to be great because it's going to really help get that root system started. So one of those, like Root Blast is another great one, and those are going to help that root system get started in that new area. And also sprinkling a little bit in the side of the plant that you cut from is going to help that piece that it's existing, its wounds healed because you have cut off some of its root. That'll help it heal and help it not to take on any fungus that could start growing in those cool, damp soils that we have so often in the springtime. So sprinkling some of the Root Blast in, some of the Espoma BioSafe starter is going to be a good idea. One of those to sprinkle down in and then backfill your hole and you're ready to go. But you can do any of your perennials this time of the year, and April is going to be your last month to get that done until fall. So, and it looks like the weather is going to be good the whole weekend, so you might want to get out there and go ahead and get that done. The next question that we have was, what seeds should I be starting this week? And what they meant by that, because we talked a little bit, they're starting their seeds indoors and outdoors right now, and they wanted to know which ones they should be doing. So if you are starting your own tomato seeds, let's say, indoors so that they're starting to grow, this is the week for your tomatoes. You'll want to get them in this week. And I think this is probably pushing it a little bit. I would have liked to saw it all done last week. But if you didn't get those all done, this week is still going to be fine. Remember, the warmer you keep your soil, of course, without going too hot, your seeds will germinate more quickly. Remember, they don't need any light until they are popped through. So keeping them in a warm, dark place is fine. The warmer, the better. And then as soon as they germinate, as soon as they pop through the soil, then you're going to want to get them into the greatest amount of light that you can so that they don't stretch and their stem get weak and you have that damping off. So you want to make sure that you do that. Now, outdoors right now, you can be starting your pea seeds, direct seed right into the ground. Your onion sets can go in. Your potatoes can go in. And also your spinach and some of your lettuces can be directly seeded right into the ground outside in your raised beds, in your tilled garden, in your containers even that you might have for some vegetable planting. You can do all of those. Also, if you are doing seeds outside for your flowers, you could go ahead and start some snapdragon seeds right now. If you start pansies from seeds, you can do those. Some people are doing their petunias right now outside, but you really have to be careful because if your petunias germinate before the frost is over, that will nip them. The other one is marigolds. And marigolds do very, very well. They start from seed very easily. But again, they're another one. They are calling for a frost sometime mid-May, and you have nice little tender starts, you're going to want to make sure that you cover those up with a frost cloth. And we do carry the frost cloth in a large roll so we can cut off exactly what you need to cover just the amount of flowers or vegetable plants that you need to cover. We will have another frost. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. It's Stark County, Ohio. We're going to have another frost. So having a piece of frost cloth is always a good idea. Remember, you don't want to cover any of your plants if they're calling for a frost with a piece of plastic. That plastic is going to hold the cold right to your plants, and you want to make sure that you don't have that plastic up against your plants because it will get them colder than not having anything at all, really. So you want to make sure that you have them covered with a piece of some kind of material. Cloth is always very good. An old tablecloth that has the cloth on one side and the plastic on the other is always really good. But frost cloth is excellent, folds very nicely, stores very nicely. So the frost cloth is available at the garden center. And our garden center is at 5828 Columbus Road. If you don't know, we're right at the corner of Columbus and Broadway. If you have questions, please give us a call at 330-455-5997. We'll answer your questions just like we are these folks' questions on the air every Saturday morning right here on the light at 8 a.m. Now, the next question that we have was about the microgreens, and we mentioned that earlier in the show. Microgreens are very trendy right now. If you're into any type of healthful eating or you spend much time at a health food store, you're going to see microgreens, and they are very, very popular. They're very trendy, but they are getting popularity not because they're trendy. They are full of nutrients. Those little microgreens are a multitude of different vegetables that have just popped through the earth, and they're still very young without true leaves yet. So they have leaves, but they're not the plant's true leaf. So we always talk about when we're doing seeding, you don't want to do any transplanting until the tomato plant or the pepper plant has 2 true leaves. So anything in your microgreens that you're eating as a microgreen, they will have no true leaves. So you'll see a lot of the cold crops as microgreens, kohlrabi and radishes and broccoli and cauliflower and kale and Swiss chard, all of those. And before they have true leaves, that's when they are still called a microgreen. They are not difficult to start. I tell everyone if you get a solid flat, a flat is what, when you buy a flat of flowers, it's the tray. The tray is really called the flat. The other things that the flowers are planted in or the vegetables are planted in are called inserts. And those are usually like a 3-pack or a 4-pack, a 6-pack, sometimes even a 2-pack. But you're not going to need any inserts if you're doing microgreens. You're just going to take the flat, and you're going to want one that has a solid bottom or ones with just tiny little slits in the bottom to let the drainage go out, the water go out. Or if you have one of the types of flats that are all like a mesh bottom, you'll want to some type of a material to put down so that the soil doesn't wash through when you're watering your seeds in and when you're keeping it moist until your seeds are ready to harvest. So what you're going to do is put your soil in your flat, and then you're going to sprinkle your microgreen seeds in, and you cover the soil pretty well, and because you want them very thick when you're doing your cutting. And then you just cover them with a little bit more potting soil or with some vermiculite. And you're going to just cover it, and you wet it, and you just keep it in a nice warm spot. As soon as they germinate, you want to get them into the light again, or you can just germinate them right in your lit area. They germinate usually quite easy if it's a warmer area. And you will be able to have your microgreens usually popping through within 4 days. And they're usually ready to harvest within about 10 days to 2 weeks. They're ready for harvest. So if you are interested in microgreens, or you want to find more out about them, if you have been eating microgreens and you want some, we will have some at the market today. We have 2 beds of microgreens planted that we will be cutting here in the next half an hour, so that they are all ready for the farmer's market today. So come on over, sample some microgreens. And so some of you that might not be aware of microgreens, or you've heard about them, didn't know much about them, they're wonderful on salads. They're wonderful on sandwiches. If you use sprouts on anything, a microgreen can be used anywhere that you would use sprouts. So if you go to the store and you normally buy alfalfa sprouts or bean sprouts, whatever you use those sprouts on, you can use your microgreens on. So in the salads, in your soups, on your sandwiches, they are just so good. I throw them on some rice and mix them in with my rice. They garnish beautifully, but they taste wonderful, and they are so good for you, just totally full of nutrients. And so you need to try those microgreens. So come on out to the market today from 9 to noon, and we will have some microgreens for all of you to try, and nice little baggies for you to purchase and take home. Now, the next question that we have is about herbs, and they had started their herbs indoors with seed, and they were wondering which ones it's safe to go ahead and take outside because their plants are starting to get larger now. So right now, when we're having temperatures in the low 40s at night, the only herbs that you want to take out are your perennial ones for sure. So you can take out your parsley and your chives, your oregano, your thyme, your marjoram, and even your rosemary. Your rosemary isn't technically a perennial in our zone, but it can handle those cool temperatures. So you can go ahead and take your rosemary out as well. And lavender, of course, lavender being a perennial, some of you might have already had them outside planted and just leave them going from year to year. The ones you're not going to want to take outside yet are going to be your dill, your cilantro, and especially your basil. Basil cannot handle temperatures under 45, or it really seems to stifle it. Under 40, it is awful. It just turns yellowish. It starts to struggle terribly, and it's hard to bring it back. So leave your basil inside, where it's going to get some good light and stay warm until the end of May. I really wouldn't put your basil out until the end of May for you to have the best, thriving basil there. So you want to make sure that you keep that inside. Remember with your herbs, especially those 3 again, dill, basil, and cilantro, the more you harvest, the better the plant is going to do. As soon as you let them start to go to seed, the plant seems to really start to show signs of struggling. So you want to make sure that they don't go to seed, which means they don't go to flower. So you want to make sure that you keep those trimmed. Even if you don't need the herb right now, go ahead and trim it off. It's wonderful. You can freeze them in an ice cube tray and use them later on. You can give it away. If you don't need it right now, give it to the neighbor, give it to friends. But keep them trimmed on a regular basis, and you're going to have much better luck with your herbs. So we're going to sum everything up. Don't forget there is a farmer's market today. It runs from 9 to noon. And the next market will be the May 7th, which is Mother's Day weekend. I can't believe that. And so that will be the first one of May. And then there'll be one more in May. And then we will be done with farmer's markets. And that's May 21st. So we have today's May 7th and May 21st, and then we'll be done with markets, and then you'll all be going to your regular outdoor farmers markets throughout the week and on the weekends. Also, here we are in Earth Week. So remember, Tuesday night we have a class at 6:30. Thursday night we have a class at 6:30, and Friday, Earth Day, our class is at 10 a.m., and we really want all of you homeschoolers there. It's going to be tailored to all age groups. So if you have kindergarteners through high school, and then all the adults that want to come as well, we're going to have something for everyone. It's going to be a wonderful week of learning about what God has given us. It seems like everybody, we celebrate Earth Week once a year and Earth Day once a year. But as a farmer, it's Earth Week and Earth Day every day. But as Christians, it's Earth Day and Earth Week every single day. And we have to remember that and really let people know that God has given us what we need. So don't forget, we'll be back with you next Saturday morning right here on the light at 8 a.m. All of you have a blessed week. Don't forget to give me a call if you have questions, 330-455-5997. Have a blessed week.